I was born in Olynyk, Indiana, which is a very small town next to Bedford, Indiana. Then we moved to Louisville when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And so I've been living, and my parish was, I'm a convert, and my parish is St. Anthony's Parish. They're not there anymore, but that's where I was baptized when I was a junior in high school. After the sixth grade in grade school, then I went to a public school. It was Western Junior High, 22nd and Main Street, and that was the public school, grades 7 to 9. And then when I got through graduated from the ninth grade, which is really the freshman year in a public school, then I went to Shawnee. I just didn't like it. I quit and I worked a while doing different things. I worked at an ice cream place. It wasn't that long. And so anyway, I decided I'd better go back and get my high school diploma. And so I transferred from Shawnee High to Ursuline Academy. And I graduated in 1949. I love sports, and I used to play basketball. And after I joined the church, that I got on St. Anthony's team, and I became acquainted with a lot of the girls that went there that played. And then, of course, I began to get acquainted with some of them after I went to Ursuline Academy. I loved sports, all kinds, but I played on 2 basketball teams when I was in high school, St. Anthony's, and then they had a small one there at UA, and I played basketball with the school. And then in the summer months, I played on a softball team, and I forget the name of that team, but it was an elderly man who worked there close by in the vicinity, and he had a girls' team. He was the coach, and so he got me on the team, and I enjoyed playing that a few years while I was in school. So I loved those 2 sports, but I loved sports myself. I would go in the summer months and play a little bit of golf, and I would go bowling in the winter months with some friends, and we would go bowling, and I was very, very active. In fact, when I was growing up, I was a tomboy. I could climb, I think, better than my brothers. That's the hardest part that I had to give up when I went to the convent, was being active in sports. Well, before I started UA, I was thinking about trying out to become a sister, and I went over and talked to Father in the parish. I think his name was Father Theodore, and I said, I think I would like to become a sister. And he said, well, I think you'd better become a Catholic first. And so anyway, I joined the church, and right away I began thinking of going to the convent. So I think it was just probably the grace of God that I had that thought. And my dad said, well, if you go, I'll give you about 2 weeks and you'll be home. But I surprised them all. I persevered. I was baptized shortly before I started at UA. And so I was a Catholic then when I went to the Catholic high school. There was no Catholicity in our family. However, I do have a few people that are converts also. my aunt married a man who was a Catholic. She became a convert, and it was the grace of God. I prayed for my parents, and they joined the church shortly before they died, a year or two. They became a Catholic also, and I had an aunt on my mother's side, and she also married a man who was a Catholic, and so she was influenced also, and she had 4 children, and she sent them all to a Catholic school and paid their tuition and everything, and so there's a little bit in our family, but they're all converts. My parents lived there on Round Street. When they passed away, it was their choice. The priest from St. Cecilia's, who was very close, and they had St. Cecilia School, and they would go over and talk to my mother and dad, and they're I forget the name of the priest, but he baptized them, and they weren't able to go to Mass every Sunday, so Father would bring them Holy Communion and talk to them, and so when they died, they wanted to be buried from St. Cecilia's church, and they were buried there, the small cemetery, a few blocks over from our mother's sorrows, St. Stephen's. I graduated from Ursuline Academy in 1949, and it wasn't very long till I observed the different sisters passing by, and I began to think about their life, and I wanted to be closer to the Lord. And so I thought I would try it out to see if I liked it. So I entered the convent, the Ursulines, in 1949. I was invested in 1950, and I'll be 95 in December. So I've already celebrated 70 years in the Ursuline community. There was a sister who was principal at St. Anthony's Convent, and I would go over and talk to her, and she would give me books to read. And I told her I was interested in trying out and see if I would like to be a sister. And so she kind of took me under her wing, and I would go over periodically to talk to her, and I liked her very much. Her name was Sister Mara Burke, Burke. She was principal there at St. Anthony's. So she really helped me along the way to get started in going to the Ursuline community. My first step, well, Sister Mara, the sister I told you about, she took me out to Ursuline Mother House on Lexington Road, and she took me in there and introduced me to the Mother Superior, and the Mother Superior asked me a few questions and told me the date that I could come. And so that was the beginning. We were candidates the first year, wore black dresses to school. We didn't have the habit, but we had black clothes that we wore. And during those 6 months, we had like a little bonnet on our head. And after that first year was over, then we were invested in 1950, which meant we got the veil and the habit. At that time, we had a big long rosary at our side, and we had our headgear. At that time, we were really dressed like a sister. And we made vows for 3 years to see if we thought that would be our life, if we liked it. 3 years, and after the 3 years, then we had the hard decision if we wanted to make it for life, which most of us did. We made our final vows 3 years after we went out to teach. My primary aim was to be a sister, but that was the work that they were engaged in, and I chose that community, first of all, because it was close to us. I did go out and during that time and before I entered and talked to a sister of charity. Their mother house is out in Bardstown, Kentucky. And I knew if I went out there, I was going to get homesick. So I wanted a place that was closer to where I lived. So, and then I became acquainted, of course, with Sister Mara Burke was her name. And she was the principal there at St. Anthony's Parish, which was close to where I lived. And so that's where I wound up with the Ursulines. My first obedience, it was to continue teaching what I had been doing. I knew at the time it was a teaching community. We observed, went into classrooms on the campus and observed what grade we think we would like. And we went in that classroom and we did a certain amount of observation. And so that's more or less how I became. Now the Sisters of Charity, they have a much larger community than we do because they have a lot of nurses. We had generous donations from so many friends and people that knew the Ursulines, and of course the ones that taught in high school and college got a much bigger salary than we did in the parishes. And but most of our parishes here in Louisville, many of them, not all, but many of them were taught by the Ursulines. And the Sisters of Charity, I know, had some here too, and other communities. But the Ursulines, we taught at quite a few of the parishes here in the city and also out of the city. We got vocations from sisters. Some of our sisters taught in Cumberland, Maryland, and so some of the girls that went there came to our community, and we had some that taught out west in Nebraska, some schools out there, South Carolina, West Virginia, different places where we were able to get other girls who came in to join us. First place I went to was St. Raphael, Bardstown Road. Then I went to Our Mother's Sorrows, and I taught after Our Mother's Sorrows, I went out to out in Valley Station, St. Clement, out there about 10 years. And I don't know if I got it all in order, but I taught at St. Helens. I was there 5 years. And then I was sent to South Carolina. I taught there, and I taught in Cumberland, Maryland. And then I came back and taught, then I taught at St. Clement. I was out there about 10 years, I believe. And then I taught at St. Elizabeth, and I went back again and taught at St. Raphael's, I believe. I like the middle grades better. And I've had every grade except the first grade and the eighth grade, the bottom and the top. Never had those, but I had the second grade most of those years in a First Communion class. So I'm retired, and then I became I volunteered at Baptist East Hospital. I would go there and take people down. Some of them came in there for just one day, and I would take them back to the car for them to go home. And while they were there a few hours, my duties would be ask them if they'd like a drink or a Danish roll or something, a little something to eat or drink before and then my back got worse. I would clean gurneys in between, and so my back was causing me quite a bit of trouble. So then the lady there in charge gave me the job then and I thought I would like that. I don't think they do it anymore, but they would take a cart and go around to a certain floor, different ones, and we would ask them if they would like a cup of coffee or tea or something. And I also, before that, I was a volunteer in working with it's called the Elders Serve, where they would give me a name, and I would go there and ask them if they needed help. I would drive them to the doctor, take them shopping, and I did quite a few of those things, helping the elderly people. I would go to their homes and take them shopping and do different things for them where they needed help. So I did volunteer work as long as my health would allow it. And then when we had to leave our mother house, I found that very difficult. That was my home for quite a few years. We still go there to have meetings and different things, but we don't no longer we no longer live there. And but I liked it though. There were 9 of us. I think it was about 5 years or more ago, because I've been here over 2 years, and I think I was over there 3 years when we had to move out of the building. There were 9 of us that left the mother house at that time, and that was about 5 years ago. We went over to Twinbrook, and my health got worse. My heart is getting weaker now, and so that's why I ended up here in the nursing home. I hated that, but I know I need to be here. I'm on lots of medicine, and if you over there, you have to take care of your own medicine. They don't have a nurse there. They will help you clean your room. They give you your meals, and if you need extra help, you have to ask the one in charge, and she'll ask somebody who works there to help you. But at that time, I was able to give myself my own bath, and the only thing they did help me with was cleaning my room. They came in and cleaned my room, but we had workers who took us to the doctor, and so we got a little more help than if we had been out in an apartment ourselves. But here, with my heart getting worse, that I guess I needed to be here. When I came here, I had a lot of things going on even after I got here. But when you get to be almost 95, as I am, then you're going to have something. They're not everybody lives that long. One of our sisters over here, she's going on 100. She had her 99th birthday. I think it's made an impact, or the very good and the positive, because all these years I could have left if I wanted to, and but I had a desire to serve, I guess, and of course I was very interested in the Catholic Church when I was a small youngster, 7 or 8 years old. My little friend was a Catholic, and so I went to church with her. And I said, and her name was Mildred. I said, Mildred, what did Father put on your tongue when you went up there and knelt at the altar rail? I knew nothing about the Catholic faith. And she tried to explain. And then I would go with her. She'd go in a confession. And I'd say, Mildred, what did Father say to you in that little box when you went in that little box and closed the curtain? And she said, well, that's the law, one law of the church, that we go to confession and tell Father our sins. And that's the only thing I don't agree with all these years. I tell I tell God my own sins, and I have many times gone to confession, but I think that was very hard for me to go to confession, to tell another human being what I had done wrong. And I thought, I'm telling the Lord what I did wrong, and I'm sorry. And that's the one opinion I have. But I've gone to confession here. Father has gone around, listened to our sins, but and I'm sure other people probably have had the same thought. But I find that hard. I do the best I can. Sometimes I feel like I know there are a lot of other sisters holier than I am. I don't feel like I'm so holy or great above anybody else. But I do the best I can, I guess. I saw a sign on the sister's door not too long ago, and I thought, how true. It said, life is a journey, enjoy it. And it is. It's like a journey. You're continually, having one experience right after the next, and you can't predict the future. You just have to leave it to the Lord what the future's going to bring.